Hello, everybody, and welcome to
Hello.
another episode of the
Hi there.
It's Okay to Cry Entertainment podcast.
Woo!
We are very glad to have you back.
Yeah.
Or for the first time, for that matter. I mean, some might argue even better.
Fair enough. But that's how you get them, you know? They'll be like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be back.
Yeah, you make them feel part of the community.
Exactly.
The It's Okay to community.
It's okay to community. Yes.
It's okay, community.
Okay, I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, are we going to start off with the drink review?
Yeah, we're gonna start up
Alright,
with
I'm-
this review.
Yeah, go ahead and start. I'm gonna close my curtains real
So I
quick.
got my whale mug. I
Oh.
don't know if it's mirrored, but it's a whale mug, and I'm drinking instant Nesquik chocolate milk out of it, and it's pretty good.
Ooh, that's some high quality drink right there.
It's pretty good.
I have my
Oh,
Fem
yeah.
mug, which is nice, and it's
Very
filled
pretty.
up with some yellow label tea, which I really like. So that's
Very
great.
nice.
I have got
I've-
my tiger mug.
Yes.
It's filled with butter because I'm having the mother of all hangovers. So yeah.
I've got Alright, Jesus, can we get focus? I've got a Stay Focused mug, and I've got what is it? Lord Nelson English breakfast tea, and
But is it your breakfast?
No comment.
I've had breakfast, but it's quite close to breakfast, to be honest.
Okay.
I'll take that.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Did you actually
dude,
link
just
the
vibe, you
you in the last episode?
Oh, I should have linked the
'Cause
you
I'm
in the
pretty
last
sure that at
episode.
this point the you
You can still
video
do that.
is like something that you just have to have seen to even understand our communication.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
link the you video in this video.
Like the quick version of it is like there's this couple who is like really floaty and just like, oh, I love you so much and our vibrations are so high. And
You're
It's-
like
it's
the
just
best
that for,
artist.
like,
You're like
2
better
minutes.
than Picasso and Steve Jobs, and like
it's brilliant. It's so funny.
It's amazing.
And that's also
Yeah.
where the fair enough comes at a completely inappropriate moment. So yeah.
yeah.
Fair enough.
Which I apparently said way too much last time. It called me out on it.
Oh, I should have-
Super
I should have made a
self-conscious about
counter.
it, so it's gonna be fine.
I should have made a counter and
We can do that this
But I didn't.
episode. Make a fair enough counter.
Right.
It's already on like
Okay.
7 or so.
Oh god, that's
Like, guys,
oh,
we-
yeah. No, absolutely.
We
Okay.
took so long on starting with the podcast that I've finished my tea, so I'm gonna make some more. Out of
I have backup
The water.
drinks here. So that's
Oh, that's
it's
smart.
the amazing old Jamaican ginger beer,
Oh,
which is very nice.
it's
very,
definitely
very
not on purpose,
nice.
though. Or like it's overlit, but yeah.
Oh, oops. Go back in the shadow. No, it doesn't work. Shadow.
I
it.
mean-
Okay. But
Yes.
my dad won't understand that ginger
Okay.
beer doesn't contain actual beer.
Oh really?
No, but this is
So-
very difficult, right? Like,
So
it
I
took me
grabbed
very
this
long
and it's
as a
like,
kid to understand that I hadn't actually drunken any beer yet, because ginger beer wasn't actual beer.
so I grabbed this and my dad was like, "You're drinking beer at 1 o'clock?" Like, nah, bro. Yeah.
Holy shit! It's like
Yeah.
I'm at my girlfriend's place, and her parents, they have this dog, and it's a small dog, and she can't be on the couch, like on people's laps, while somebody's eating, because I mean
Okay.
that's just a rule. So I was downstairs having breakfast just now, and my girlfriend's mom had the dog on her lap, and then then the dog got off the lap, and then she was like, "No, you should go to my girlfriend's dad." And but her dad was sitting next to me on the couch, and it was like he was having her on her lap for like half a minute, and then my girlfriend's mom was like, "Dude, he's eating. You can't have her on your lap." I was like, "What the?" And he got
What?
he got
Is it just me or is everybody confused?
I was having breakfast, yeah.
Mhm.
My girlfriend's mom put the dog on my girlfriend's dad's lap,
Mm-hmm.
but she can't be on people's laps while somebody's eating. So she got mad. So she got mad at my girlfriend's dad for having the dog on his lap.
No.
Which is like,
So she just grabbed the dog, put it on his lap, and then got mad at that.
yeah, I mean, basically, she didn't put it on his lap, but she like put her on the couch next to him, where the natural thing is to, you know.
I mean, that's like on the same level that my dad like a couple years ago fell off the stairs for like the last five stairs, like,
Steps.
and my mother got mad because it made too much noise.
I mean, no, but to be fair, I got mad at my brother for the same thing once, but then it wasn't because it made too much noise. He fell down one step and he was screaming for like 5 minutes, like he was dying. And then I came out and I was like, "Are you fine?" He was like, "Yeah, it just hurts a little bit." And I was like, "What the fuck? You're screaming like you're getting murdered, you know?" I mean, but like,
I mean, that shit can hurt though. Like, you can properly misstep off of a
yeah, and then you hit it with one or two fucks, you know. But you don't scream for like 5 minutes and like, it hurts so much, and then when somebody comes, you're like, "No, I'm actually fine."
Right, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, but like, to be fair, it's not something you should get mad about. I mean, it's
No,
completely unreasonable
I
for me.
agree with
But
that.
then again, I understand why I got mad, which is
I think
more
you
than I
would.
can say. But it's quite often I get mad without having an explanation.
That
That's
doesn't sound very.
no, but like I don't get like furious mad. I get like grumpy and
Fuck, why is this thing wet? Okay.
my girlfriend's like really agreeing with me randomly getting grumpy. She doesn't sound too happy about it.
'Cause you can't just like. I mean, you can go around showing all your mugs, but
Oh, I will. If we want, I can do a mug session. I have so many cool mugs. I'm gonna do like 10 hours of talking about my mugs.
oh yeah, definitely. We can make an entire separate podcast just about mugs.
Archer's mugs, yeah.
Mugcast.
Yeah, shit. I still need to start recording gameplay for
Same.
stuff. Yeah.
On that note,
Oh,
what have
I-
you guys
I
been
don't know.
playing this week?
I've been playing only Spider-Man, and a lot of it. Like I have
Which one?
re-
Like the-
There's
for the
quite a few
PlayStation.
Spider-Man games, isn't there?
That's true. Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4. I've restarted the game because I wanted to play it again, and I love it. It's so fun. It's so good. I know I'm gonna be the 1,000th person to say this, but you feel like Spider-Man swinging around when you swing
Yeah.
around. You know, it's so. It's so fun. So
This
that
is the
note,
one with all the gifs on Reddit, right? Where like you see people just like doing crazy stunts, swinging through the city and
Yep.
like jumping from planes and stuff.
Yep.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
I haven't played the game, but I have a pretty clear image of what it's like. Yeah.
It would be so cool to have like a GTA 5, you know, like that kind of concept with like multiple playable characters and a huge open world, but like in the MCU, like you can be.
You mean-
like,
you mean Lego-
Spider-Man. What do I mean?
Lego Avengers,
yeah,
but then
definitely.
multiplayer.
Holy
Absolutely.
shit! Yeah.
Gotta
That'd be
say,
cool.
Lego
It's also
Superheroes
cool.
is pretty cool. Lego Adventures is lit. That's just how it is. I have both, by the way.
Like it would be that would be so cool. Like you can like go for, like, yeah, I'm Spider-Man. Oh no, wait, I'm feeling like Iron Man today, and just,
there is
and then just
there is an
fucking die by
MCU
snapping your fingers. But I mean,
there is an
Yeah.
MCU MMO, I think.
Is
But I
there?
don't know if it's any
That's
good.
cool.
Yeah, I used to play it for a while, but I
I'm gonna
don't
look
know
that
if
up
it's
real quick.
any.
Yeah, I think I remember that. But there's a reason I either didn't play it or stopped playing it.
The best superhero MMOs and why you should play them? Nope. Okay. All right. Well, I can't find that.
Well, anyway,
Anyway.
I've
Oh,
been-
it's literally called Marvel Heroes.
Oh.
like-
Okay. Right.
I've stopped
Marvel
playing Red Dead
Heroes are
Redemption.
Oh.
It's the storyline. It's gotten too. I get that there's a story they're trying to tell of like the last group of outlaws, being unable to escape anything really.
Mhm.
Where in the end they can't escape the law, they can't escape they can't escape the mistrust that they have. They can't, and then Arthur gets tuberculosis, which is like this aspect that ramps up throughout the ending bit.
Hold up. Arthur gets.
I'm
assuming
still
Arthur's
prepared.
also a
I
character in
haven't,
Red
I
Dead
haven't
Redemption.
finished this fucking game yet. I'm a smack you now. No, okay, it's okay. But I will throw up a spoiler
Okay,
warning.
yes,
probably
sorry for
before.
the spoilers, but the
Head
game's
that
been
up
out
with
for
a
like,
spoiler warning, but you know.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
I will.
spoiler
So-
warning.
Is it the
but-
same problem you described last time? that made
No,
you quit the
no,
game?
it's not the unethical, the fact that his actions aren't justifiable to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that to me this storyline, where I really like, if you compare it to GTA 5, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there are of course these somewhat serious overarching story aspects, but it's kind of a light-hearted game and all the way through the end, and it stays kind of funny. But Red Dead Redemption isn't that. And they hit me with too much heavy stuff in a too slow manner, causing me to feel it coming.
Oh,
And
right. Okay.
I
Yeah.
just I can't be bothered really.
Okay.
Like that's
So it's just
yeah.
like a pity party, and you just
yeah.
not looking for
Basically,
that.
I would recommend you stop playing after chapter 4 or 5. Just ignore the whole 6th chapter. That's
Duly noted.
And on that note, I've been playing a lot of League of Legends again. I've ranked up, you know.
nice.
Yes.
I've still got a negative win rate, but hey,
Okay. Where are you at now?
what are you gonna do about it? So that's yeah. What?
Where are you at now?
I'm at gold 3.
Oh, okay.
I finished my promos, going I think 7-3 or 8-2. My placements, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Started off at gold 3, then went on an inting spree for like the whole of the season, which has been. I mean, it's
going
been
on for
half a
bit.
year now.
Yeah, it's been.
It's been going rough, and I've been stuck at gold 4 a bunch. Being even unable to hit promos to gold 3, and then I did it this weekend with my girlfriend, of course.
Nice.
But
Yeah.
you know,
Do you have the
the
same
last
thing?
game she straight inted. Hey.
I have
Okay.
this thing with League where I just leave for a bit, and then when I come back, I tend to be better than when I've been
Yeah.
playing a lot, which is really weird because it suggests to me that I'm like me playing actually makes me worse.
Well, the thing is, the question is, how do you learn from your mistakes? And that's
Right. I
a
guess.
thing that's really interesting. It's not just limited to League of Legends.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a lot of games, in a lot of situations in general. How do you learn from your mistakes? Do you learn from your mistakes by powering through, or do you learn from your mistakes from taking a step back?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
And it's really difficult to take that step back.
Yep.
And then I'm not just talking about you lose 3 games in a row and then you spend the rest of the night trying to get your LP back, and then you
That's so
demote
classic.
from
Yeah, it's very classic.
yeah.
I think most people who play competitive games have know that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I have only done it once, but yeah, it's rough. It's really rough to just. But I mean, that's the same thing with like projects and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you hit a problem,
Yeah.
do you continue banging your head against the wall, or do you try to take a step back, maybe do something else for a little bit, and then see if you can approach the problem in a different way?
Yeah. Sure.
And that's, I think, it's not necessarily that playing makes you worse.
Mm-hmm.
It's that not playing makes you better.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think. Yeah.
And then,
Generally, when I come
But
back, I
I-
tend to have more like overview instead of being too overly focused on one thing, which I can tend to be.
Yeah.
I do think
Could
there's
also
a
just
time
be
limit to that,
concentration.
though. Because if you stay away too long, you kind of
Yeah. Absolutely.
you kind of lose touch of
definitely.
the game.
Absolutely.
sure, but that's, I think you gotta hit the sweet spot. Like you should. Well, the thing is, the way competitive games are set up, you need to play a lot to
Mhm.
rank up, to get like the high ranks. But you need to not constantly play, meaning that you're constantly either actively taking a break,
Mhm.
or you're playing if you want to rank up.
Yeah.
Like you have to let the game consume your life. That's not really it, but you have to spend really a lot of time on it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's I know I used to think I could do that, but I'm starting to question it more and more. And now that I'm questioning it, I find myself being able to do it.
That's funny. I think it's
That's
just because you take it more seriously then, I think. Maybe?
yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's like I've set this goal for myself, and well, that was to hit diamond this season,
Okay, okay.
which is, I mean,
For the record,
to be
I
fair,
think Diamond is top 0.2% of players.
isn't it top 2%?
Oh, it could
It's
be actually.
yeah, I think so. What?
That would
Yeah, top
make more
5, top
sense.
2, something like that.
Oh yeah, okay.
Top
Um,
42
and
is
It means
really
you're like
small percentage.
pretty fucking good at the game. I mean,
yeah,
yeah. Let's put it some other way. It means there's a lot more people worse than you than there are people better than you, and that everybody
Yeah.
who is better than you plays the game like
Every day, a couple of hours.
yeah, probably.
Yeah. Like the thing is, I was platinum. Like I was firmly in platinum last season. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had set that goal for myself, and around this time last year, I had reached that rank, which is higher
Yeah.
than what I am now.
Yeah.
Quite a bit actually. Which is, I think that's partly the reason that I've been doing so poorly. I was like, I'm easily platinum worthy, you know.
Oh yeah.
I've done it before. I can easily do it again, and then I just bash my head against the wall, trying to reach that point that I know I can easily reach, and that then fucks me up, and then I get demotivated, and then I tilt, and
Yeah.
then I play more games, and then yeah.
It's not a good
Because let's
cycle
see,
to be in, but it is quite understandable.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently at 20.58% of the top players in EU West, which is
That's pretty nice.
upsetting because I want to be under that 20. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You
but
want to be
I'm
top fifth.
But it's actually an interesting design question because it's not very healthy for your players to, bash their head against the wall and get
Mhm.
tilted and spend way too you were like, it's 12, one more round, just try to get those points back, and then it's
Yeah.
5 o'clock in the morning. You're like, fuck, I've demoted again. It's not healthy for your players. Plus, it might annoy them to not come back to your game. So, how do you stop that from happening
Well, I think
while
here's
keeping the game competitive?
problem.
Don't.
I agree with you that this is a problem you have to fix, but I'm not sure if I agree with the idea that this does not make people come back.
It's like this
Well,
is
it
more like a
depends.
challenge, you know. It's like
It's not like it will turn you off, but it can turn. Like, let's say you have a
Yeah.
really shit experience, like 3 of
Mhm.
these days in a row, and you get really annoyed. There is a chance that you stop playing because
Yeah,
it's
fair
just
enough.
it's good, but like one of the things I remember most and I found the most surprising when we had game design was that dopamine is at the highest point in anticipation of a reward, not when you get a reward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
it
that
could be
doesn't
like
mean you
always
need to-
like
That doesn't
you
mean
want
you
to go
take your health away for that. You can
No. Exactly.
get an
Literally,
anticipation for.
And moreover,
For
when
rewards
you've been
in
on a
other
tilting
ways.
spree of like 3 games, I don't think your expectation is very high.
No.
Yeah.
no, it could not be, but it could be like you want to be better or you
Mhm.
want to win.
Yeah.
And therefore you have like the dopamine rush because you're in anticipation of winning.
Yeah.
Could be. I'm not 100% sure. I mean,
I think that's kind of the reason you play a game.
yeah.
And I think the thing with competitive games is that it's both directly tied into your skill and directly tied into your opponent's skill. And especially in a team-based game like League of Legends, tied into your team skill.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Which is there's this
Oh
really
yeah, that's
interesting
annoying.
set of calculations people did where the difference your skill makes is like an 8% win rate. Like if you're really bad, you get a 46% win rate because you only impact 1/5 of or 1/10 of the game or something like that. Like every other teammate and every
I'm
other
not sure
matchup
if
in
I
the game.
totally agree with that logic, but
Me neither,
Uh,
but I think it is funny that like you're saying that if you're really bad at the game, you get just a negative win rate, right?
yeah.
But just a few minutes you said you had a negative win rate.
Yeah.
So what does that say about you?
It says that I'm bad at the game and I'm not pulling my weight in the games. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
what it
okay.
says.
well, I mean,
And
it also
that's
depends vastly on the
Yeah, and
sample size.
it's on a lot. It depends on way
Yeah.
more things, of course.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, it just depends on a lot of things. But that's the thing in competitive games. Your skill is unlike single player games or PvE multiplayer games. Your skill is only a medium-sized part of the equation.
Yep.
It isn't the whole equation.
Yeah,
Like I can play Bannerlord and I can just clear out parties by myself, and that's my skill
right.
directly impacting my performance in the game,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore I know I am good at the game.
Mhm.
With uh, with especially competitive games, like last night I was playing against a Smurf
Right.
on a champion that's
For the record,
really
a
good for
Smurf
people.
is a account held by a really good player that they have made to play with lower ranked players that are
Yeah.
thus generally
To
not
basically
as
shit
good
on
as
me,
them.
you know.
Yeah.
And it was both in the jungle, so we were quite directly opposing each other. And I played quite well, you know. I'm not gonna lie, Ken. I played well in the Warwick game, didn't I? Against Eve. Yeah. I need some confirmation over here. But
I
no,
mean,
I played
We've
quite
all
well.
been there.
But it was a Smurf.
Mhm.
It was just really upsetting, like actually getting outplayed, and not because you make mistakes, but because the other person is just better than you.
Well, I'm gonna say something controversial, which you might not like, but isn't outsmarting someone that's better than you, not like directly competing with him, but finding a way with your team around that part of what makes you good at the game? Because
Yes,
if you
definitely.
can't beat someone that's better than you in the game, then that's a skill you need to learn. Like
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't play League. I play a lot of CSGO. Sometimes there's just a dude that's better at aiming, better at peeking. So what you do, you ask someone, hey, come with me in apartments, and we're gonna fuck this guy up. We're gonna do something he doesn't expect, or we're gonna take it way more passive, or we're gonna just try something else to see if we can catch him off guard.
The
So
thing is, there's this.
I don't know League that much, so I don't know if that's possible, but that's
I understand what you mean, and it's definitely a thing. Like we loaded into the game and we did some pre-game scouting, and I was about to say this guy's a Smurf, and then our support said this guy's a Smurf. I was like, yeah, this guy's a Smurf, and it's probably gonna be a problem, but we're gonna try to do our best.
Mm-hmm.
And the early game I played really well, but the other guy, he just helped his team get so ahead, and that's the thing in CS:GO. You have basically at least 16. You have 16 tries, yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, with the money and with the improved weapons he can buy every round, it does get harder.
Hmm.
But in League of Legends, the snowball is way more there. So a really good player knows, like if I make a mistake, he capitalizes on that. So if I were to say prioritize taking a certain objective and have control over that objective, he completely screws me elsewhere over on the map.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and then you can say, oh, all right, well, next time, well, in CSGO, you can say, next time, I'm going to do this better. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm going to try to secure that side of the map before I take the objective.
Mhm.
All those things. But there is no next time. There's just the
Yeah.
one game of 40 minutes where it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And there's a lot of things you can do. You can do a lot of
Absolutely.
things.
Mhm.
But it's the thing about a good player isn't the ability to outplay in a single situation. The in League of Legends, that is, the ability, the what makes a good player is being able to control the game. basically.
sure.
And
Which in League of
that's
Legends indeed is quite a bit more impacted by snowballing your lead and just like
exactly.
using your lead to generate more lead, which is a part of CSGO, but I think it's much more minor there.
I think
I think-
in CS:GO they even have this way of balancing that. If you lose multiple rounds in a row, you get more and more money,
Yeah,
uh,
loss bonus.
Well, yeah, but
loss bonus.
I mean, League
Which is
also
like
has
they-
balancing systems where you're worth less money when you die, and the map gets smaller
Yeah,
when
of course,
the
but
enemy
that's the
gets
thing.
closer to your base and stuff. So
In League of Legends, kills aren't elite. In League of Legends, objectives are elite, and that's
well, yes and no.
well, yes and no. I think we're like
we could have a 10-hour discussion of just League of Legends.
But
I
yeah, I think the balancing is indeed an interesting question, because is it bad that I am stuck in, well, it's not a 45-minute game, it's a 25-30-minute game where I'm just getting completely shit on, and there's not really much I can do about it after the first 15 minutes, basically.
Right.
Is that a balancing issue? And as
I'm not
frustrating
sure.
as it is to be against the Smurf, I would argue it's not.
Well, it's not a
Couldn't-
balancing issue, but it is something you want to avoid your player from like not avoid your player from playing against Smurfs, but avoid your player from hitting his head against the wall, like you said, for maybe a whole day, and he keeps getting bad luck and put up against Smurfs or with a shit team or stuff.
Yeah, Frenchies.
And I think instead of I think World of Warcraft did this instead of countering doing that, reward not doing that.
Yeah.
So they
yeah.
have the longer you were offline, you get like this experience game boost. So if you were offline for a few days, you get for a while you get XP more easier instead of if you log in every day, which is interesting. I think it's
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's a really good point. But that's the thing about how do you, as a game development company, or well, as a game producer, how do you earn your money? And
Right,
that's,
yeah.
I think, with a lot of competitive games,
Mhm.
they're free to play.
Yep.
Which is what makes them really good for competitive games, because
anyone can join.
anybody can install
which
them.
gets
Anybody
a
can.
lot of people, good competition.
Yeah.
That means the community quickly reaches high skill level. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really great. But how do you make money? Well, you do that by getting people so into the game that they don't mind spending a little bit of money.
Yeah.
You do that by adding skins. You do that by adding well, are we gonna do the monetization discussion about skins and
I
freemium?
think we can do an entire podcast about that.
Yeah,
sometime.
let's do that.
But I think
No.
it's a really interesting point. Somebody might want to write that down if they have a piece of paper laying around.
Daan notuleren.
Daan, you're notuleren.
Wait,
but-
I
but-
have. Where's, oh, here.
Yeah, the thing is, you as World of Warcraft, people
Yeah, I was
purchase a
gonna say-
monthly subscription.
There's
Mhm.
also
And
a
that's-
monetary incentive for the company not to want you to burn through all the content, right? Because you pay
Yeah.
a subscription,
Yeah.
and they want you to get that slow. So yeah, they're gonna reward you playing
True.
through that set amount of content for which you keep paying for as long as you haven't played through it.
Yeah.
They're gonna want you to take that slow.
Yeah.
By the way,
Compared to. Yeah, go on, Arthur.
okay, I really want to have so also Dan, write it down. A talk in a later podcast about comparing how we handled the Corona pandemic with how players handled the pandemic in World of Warcraft.
That's a very good point.
Okay. Is there a pandemic in World of Warcraft?
There was a pandemic because there was a high level boss, which had this kind of like you know
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
this kind of curse action which cursed players. And only high level players can go to the boss, and they were kind of, they could kind of fight it off and blah blah blah. And so a team went there with like a few players and their pet, and they fought the boss. And afterwards, they healed the players, and it was all fine. So no one had the curse. But the pet could also carry the curse, and they didn't heal him.
Oh,
So they
no.
went back to town where all the noobs are and all the early players who are not equipped to deal with this shit. And it spread through the whole game. Like,
That's
you know,
pretty fucking cool.
people. It's a gigantic pandemic. It's immensely interesting, and it's actually being studied by people that work for pandemic prevention. It's a study case, and it's really interesting because
That's so
they handled
awesome.
things. The things that went wrong are exactly the things that kind of went wrong in the beginning of the corona outbreak, and the things the players tried to use to prevent it also kind of look like what we did with the corona outbreak. So it's really interesting.
Oh,
I
that's
really want to talk
hilarious.
about that.
Yeah, I think we could have a really good talk about that sometime.
Yeah, I think you might even just want to make an in-depth video about that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I don't have the knowledge to make that an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And I think Misha and Dan don't have the knowledge to make that an interesting conversation. Meaning that you
Totally.
would just be telling us the thing, and we would just be
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
oh, that's cool, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Where I think if you just make an in-depth video, the whole world can be like, that's cool, that's interesting. So that's
Which is really cool, and that's a nice segue into the fact that we were planning on doing slightly more documentary style videos, I think, on this channel as well, going into game design ideas and comparing games and talking about these kind of things. I think that'd be really fun.
Yeah.
all right.
So yeah, we'll keep your eyes open for that. It'll probably take a while, but you know, it's interesting. I think it sounds really cool. I want to work on this.
Yeah.
So
I would like to work on that. That's cool. So yeah, to go back to League, I think, which is the reason why I am more into CSGO than League. The League is a game where the skill of a single player, like having a good player, I should say, it snowballs pretty easily. So if you have a good player in the lane against a bad player and they get more ground, that has a lot more impact more quickly than in CSGO. Because if you have one Smurf in a team in CSGO, if the rest of the team is shit as well, you know, you kind of you fuck 4 guys up and then you have one Smurf against 5, and if you play it a bit smart, he'll have a very hard time to actually do something.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And this is very interesting because I'm very, very bad at CSGO, but I have played the game. And in my experience, one good player can way more easily carry a game in CSGO than they can in League.
Interesting.
Because I think in League, it's very easy to, when you have an advantage, to keep that advantage and to push that. But I feel like in CSGO, it's very easy to consistently overpower people with your higher skill, even when you're not ahead.
Yeah. But I think that's, not to sound too rude, I think that's because you put yourself in bad situations for that match.
That's not rude at all. I know. I'm just not very good at
if
CSGO.
If you have a better player than you in the other team, don't give them one-on-ones because you know they're better than you. So
so
don't
in a way,
do
that's
that.
also part of the game that you strategize around that, I guess.
Yeah,
and that's just the thing. Like in CS:GO, if you have a better player, what you can do is usually they are on the same position constantly, because if a player is good, well, you've got being a good player and being a great player, and a good player can just really hold a double doors, you know.
Yeah, so a good player on a position but sucks at, you know, holding tunnels at B.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, then you know where he is. You can kill the rest of his team, and then you have got 3 or 4 guys left, and then you can kill him. Compared to a good player in League of Legends, where yes, it's a more team-based game, but that means that one good player requires 2 or maybe even 3 team members from your team to defeat. Meaning that on the rest of the map, you've got a 4v2, which is, I mean, yes,
which is even more relevant in League, because like committing more people to fight one person also means that you're missing resources which you could be farming to make yourself stronger in the end, which doesn't really happen in CSGO, right? In CSGO, you can just say, yo, these 3 people are just going to go there, and it's going to suck for the other dudes, but once that fighting is done, they're going to come back around, and the fight's going to be equal.
Yeah.
Whereas in League, when you commit more people to one spot, you basically leave experience and gold unfarmed, and that makes the other team get an advantage in another spot.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the difference in why your skill in CS:GO, and while your collaboration skill in CSGO has more and also less impact than in League of Legends.
I think
Like, yeah,
if I frame it like this, the skill of a single player has more in CS:GO has more impact on the round
yeah,
than the skill of a single player in the game in League, but the skill of a single player has less impact in the game than the skill of a single player in the game in
Yeah,
League.
I think I'd agree with
yeah.
that.
And on that note, in this season, part of the reason they've I've been doing so poorly is I really enjoy autofitting. Like I just
Which is where you
autofill my way
Is
to
that like
top.
solo queuing?
no autofitting is where you say
You've got solo queue.
Oh yeah, sorry, no, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. The reason I okay, you've got solo queue where you just queue up solo, but autofill in League of Legends you've got positions.
Yeah.
And you're assigned a position at the start of the game. Autofilling is saying, dude, I don't give a fuck, just give me a
Oh,
position.
okay.
Where there are a couple of positions that are less popular and that you'll get those more often. That changes from patch to patch, season to season. But I like to do that because I believe that if the rest of my teammates have a higher chance of getting a lane they like, I can get carried. I'm really good at getting carried.
I actually like that idea. I hadn't heard that yet, but I think that's smart.
Yeah, like the thing is,
It's
in
a
my
smart
early days,
argument
I
for
had
autofill.
found myself just rotating through lanes a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and then I started off playing top lane, and then I climbed to silver in using jungle, and then my girlfriend's an ADC main, and I played support a bunch because I'm a simp, and
You beat
and
me
then
to
there
it.
I was being not great at 3 roles, but perfectly capable in 3 roles.
Mhm.
Then all that dried up a bit, and then my girlfriend started teaching me AD carry. So I learned AD carry, and there I was being perfectly capable in 4 roles. Just being good enough for my skill level in all those 4 roles. Mid lane was a thing I did not touch with a 10-foot pole, and I still don't feel really comfortable. I absolutely hate the fact that you can get ganked from 2 directions.
Yeah,
Um,
that
yeah,
is a big
yeah,
problem.
it's really frustrating.
Apparently,
But
Lumen is not into DP.
no, I'm not one of those guys. But so the thing is, I think, hey, I'm perfectly fine playing 4 roles, and mid lane is the most popular lane anyway, so I'll almost never get mid lane. So I can just autofill my way up the ladder, because then my teammates, who all have a preferred lane, can get that preferred lane.
Yeah.
So the point I'm getting at is this season they nerfed carrying. They've been consistently, also over the last season, they've been nerfing the ability for a single player to carry the game and destroy a game.
Well, they've been
Because,
doing
like we
that
just
for like
discussed,
3 seasons now. Yeah, but it's been consistently,
yeah,
getting.
they've been consistently trying, and I think at this point
For the
they've
record,
hit.
it used to be a lot more like we just talked about CS:GO, especially when I started
Yeah,
playing League. Is like it was completely normal for one player to just take over the game and just like solo carry, even if the rest of his team was just dead weight. But that is now a lot harder.
yeah. So that's the thing. I can't, like, I can't be that weight.
Hmm.
I used to just go roughly even in lane. Sometimes I would hard int, but then I would try to see if I could keep the mental up, and then turns out our jungler was French and the game was over. Um, fucking attitude de merde. But okay, I'll get to that later. But the point is, you can't get carried anymore. You actually have to pull your weight. Uh, you have to work together as a team, and you can't just let a single player carry. So if you have too
But
many passive players in a team, you lose.
that does sound like a good thing, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think from a game design perspective, it's a good thing. However, I think
But
from a
it disrupts your game style, so
it,
like it.
it disrupts my game style, and that's, yeah,
It's like a culture shock. You need to recalibrate to the new
Yeah.
experience.
yeah. But the thing is, they've been doing this gradually over 3
Yeah.
seasons.
They're just
I've only been
slowly
playing
pushing
for
it.
3 seasons.
It's just getting
So
to a really point where it's like really starting to work now.
yeah, so it's, and I don't know, but somehow this season I just can't. And now I've finally figured out my like play style, the way I win. And it's now I'm starting to consistently climb up. I've gone from I think I had a 43% win rate at some point, and now I'm at 46.
Hey,
Which is
Hey,
interesting.
which
that's
is
improvement.
This is exactly the point Arthur raised, is that like this change forces you to find your new identity, right?
Yeah.
Which is
And I think that's
more concise than I'll just see what my team needs.
Plus, I think that by
Which-
specializing,
Mm-hmm.
you first of all, I like that you say like passive and active players. I think that by becoming an active player and specializing in a certain spot, you'll get a team that is more capable of performing without helping each other. Kind of in the sense that if you are good at the place where you are at, and everyone is good at the place where they're at,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to give up your place to go help someone else because everyone is good at what they're at, or that will happen less.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
will probably make more streamlined teams. is what
Yeah,
I'm thinking.
which probably
I
makes
think
you
that's
have
really
more fun because it gives you more time to play the things you want, right?
Yeah, and that's indeed the thing I've found myself. I actually enjoy playing top lane. Then again, I'm a filthy trundle top lane player where
Oh, that's
I
amazing.
just abuse Blade of the Ruined King, and
Fair
yeah,
enough.
nice.
We're
But
we're learning a lot of interesting things about you. No DP, but you are a top. Okay,
yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna write this
like
down.
in the same way where
This is fan fiction material right here.
I've practiced dominating in the top lane. I've found a way to help my team get more ahead in the jungle. I've found myself being able to really actively look for abilities to help my team, for like opportunities for that. And if I can't, I found myself being able to get an objective, which is great. I'm not going to talk about my AD carry capabilities. Well, you are my AD carry, so I don't need to talk about my capabilities. So, and my support, I've found myself being more capable of helping on the active supports, the ones with a pool, the ones that disrupt the enemy team. And I think that's indeed the active player part, the making me not pure dead weight.
Yeah.
Where previously I would just as a jungler really only gank if there was a free gank, and otherwise I would just farm and take objectives.
Which is
It's
where
like
jungle
the
is like
difference
a role where you
between-
play in between the other lanes, and you get to you basically get to choose if you want to help them out occasionally, and at what times, which is called ganking.
Yeah.
It's
So,
like
and
the difference between being the. Well, actually, no, never mind. That's a stupid allegation. Or continue. Comparison.
Yeah.
That's the word. Allegation.
No, I think it's indeed it has helped me. Well, it has made me change my identity in the game in a positive way.
That's very
Then
nice.
again, I have also become more toxic towards French people.
All right. Okay.
I mean,
By
we're
the way,
going
we could legitimately
serious
do an
to
episode.
lighthearted real quick.
We could
Fuck the
legitimately
French.
do an episode on languages and like different cultures in multiplayer games.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Writing it down.
I've learned a lot of Russian
Yeah.
during my
No,
time.
but
playing CSGO.
the thing is, in CS:GO, you don't really have reoccurring personalities based on the national culture.
Oh, but you do though.
But you do though. You
that
kinda do.
negatively or positively impact your game. It's not like you have a Spaniard on your team and you're like, this game is over.
No,
But
okay.
do you though?
But that sounds pretty racist. I gotta say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I know.
it's Spanish, but like if you see like this Chinese name, you're like, oh, this guy must be good because he's Chinese. You know?
If you see a Chinese name or a very Russian name, instantly think, is he a hacker though?
Yeah.
Instantly.
No, like,
Just a normal person.
The thing I'm getting at is I found through my years of playing League that the Northern European countries, the players are really good at seeing other players' mistakes and saying, "Hey, this is a shitty situation. How can we win the game?" Whereas, especially with French people, in general, I found them to be more tilting, and if you int, you are the inter, but if they int, you should have carried harder. Do you know what I mean?
First of all,
But that is still.
I was going to say this is
controversial
something I think you notice more often rather than always.
Yeah. It's not. I've had pleasant French people. They are the exception, though.
But is it more like I think that because you made this connection in your brain, whenever you see someone being toxic and they're French, you're like, it's they're French.
I think it might be a bit of confirmation
if people are
bias.
not toxic and they're not are toxic and they aren't French, you're like, oh, okay, you don't really notice it. But when you do notice it, it's like, you see, I'm correct.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is a very Dutch thing to do.
Now, like this guy in CSGO just going, oh.
Yeah, no, but honestly, like that's also one of. Like, I have a problem with French people in general. That's. I mean,
there it is, people, ladies and gentlemen, on the
there
internet
it is, I'm
for
a
your
racist.
entertainment. Lumen has a problem with French people.
One of the things I don't like about their culture is the fact that they're very protective over the French language, which I understand. I get that, you know. But they refuse to speak. They refuse to speak English unless it's in a multiplayer game. They sometimes speak English, but as soon as they have the opportunity to speak French, they will speak French, and they won't speak English anymore.
I'm gonna go ahead and say, because I have a suspicion that this is not all French people.
It's because I respond in French. You're absolutely right.
No, that this is not all French people, but that you hate the French people who do this, and that you also play a lot with French people, but you just don't notice that.
Because they're talking English and not French.
Yeah, exactly.
That is my suspicion.
That is, yeah.
But if you compare the French people who speak French to, for example, German people who speak German with each other,
Okay.
The Germans, if you say, "Hey, dude, ich spreche kein Deutsch," like even if you tell them in German, "I don't speak German," they will speak English with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
The French people will laugh at you.
Yeah, but it's with a lot of Southern European countries. I mean,
but I think
it's also Italy.
Again, I think what Misha said is pretty plausible, and like you might have played with a lot of French people, but you don't notice it because they don't have a French username, and because they actually do talk English, you didn't register that they're French. So
I think you just hate the French people who refuse to communicate properly.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, you know,
I mean, that's fair enough.
I can
like the
understand
French...
that.
I mean, I think it's time to say fair enough.
Fair enough, right?
You just like cut that out, just very briefly, just have like the gif of like fair enough.
Yeah, like no, I have to admit it is quite bad, and I should chill down on the French hating. But
we love you, France. Don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, I love French cuisine and all the things, you know. But
they have some great cities as well.
Yeah.
Disneyland. They employ my sister, awesome so I like the country.
Artists.
Not to all the French.
Yeah. Just kiss their ass a bit, you know.
For the record,
make sure they don't.
We're not anti-French. We just don't like people who refuse to communicate.
Only Lumen is
French.
I thought you were gonna say we're not anti-French. We just don't
no,
like
wait, I'm not going into politics, but yeah.
Yeah, that's not.
No, you know, actually, the French people, they can't go further.
I'm not gonna go into politics, but
me one sip of chocolate milk later.
No, with the lockdown in France, they have to stay within a kilometer of their home or get a special letter. Yeah. I don't know. What the fuck?
That's just a good strict.
Yeah, that actually sounds pretty reasonable.
That sounds very reasonable. The only people that you fuck up are people that live in the middle of nowhere. But then again, they can just have a letter that says, "Hey, bro, I need fucking food to live, so
No.
I'm gonna go to the supermarket," and then that's fixed. So
Yeah,
I
no,
think
right,
that's a
that-
very reasonable.
I think it's a
Yeah.
reasonable point, but I think that's especially considering the fact that the quarantine has to take a while.
Mhm.
You know, it's not gonna be over in
Yeah.
2 weeks. I think the Dutch quarantine and quarantines like that one, like ours,
Hmm.
are the most effective considering the fact that we've reached quite a far stadium of infection.
Yeah. I mean,
I have to. I'm actually of a different opinion. I think that
yeah.
the Dutch quarantine, how it was a few days / a week ago, kind of, was good. Was pretty good. I do think we reacted too late.
Yeah.
Rutte really tried to keep everyone happy for a bit too long.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, he
Yeah,
should have
exactly.
decided earlier that we were gonna go into quarantine. Plus, I do
But
think
then
that
again, I can understand that it's pretty hard to convince an entire parliament. Hey,
Yeah.
we're gonna shut down the country.
And
Yeah.
no, but
Yeah.
that's why I say if you compare it to say Taiwan,
Mm-hmm.
because fuck China, and fuck the World Health Organization, Taiwan has done this amazingly. Yeah, Taiwan has immediately acted, and they have now been able to lift the quarantine slightly.
Yeah.
Well, for the most part, which is they've amazing job. But that's why I say for how far it's progressed here, this is a really good approach, and it's interesting that you say that the lockdown how it was a few weeks ago, because literally nothing has changed.
well,
Yeah, well,
there's one thing that I notice is that it's getting looser. It's getting people are going out a bit
People
more.
are done
that's
with the quarantine.
Yeah, and I do believe that should be re-acknowledged that it is not over yet. I
Yeah,
think I read a while ago. I don't know where, so I don't know if you can believe me on this. Be careful. Search your own stuff. Don't listen to random people online. But I read somewhere that like around 3% of the Netherlands has antibodies. That's
Yeah.
not much. If 3% has antibodies, that means that a fuck ton of people can still get infected, and we can easily get. And that's with every like the what's it called? Emergency care places. Yeah. The no like the
Intensive care.
intensive care. Thank you. The intensive care was already like on its strings and kind of overrun and had needed a lot of help. And if you hear that's like around 3% that have antibodies, that means that it's like, let's just say that like double of like some are still sick and some just don't have the antibodies because fuck them, or some are not tested. So let's just say like around 7% were ill. That means that still a fuck ton of the Netherlands can get the disease. And if we're already really struggling at 7%, if we now start to lose them because we're like, oh, it's getting better, we're going to go outside again, and suddenly we get hit with 10% that are ill, we're going to get fucked.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, we had to send people to Germany to recover because the budgets on the hospitals have been cut, and I think that's indeed quite an interesting point you make. Like, if we shouldn't loosen it because then we'll just the recovering intensive care facilities will get overrun.
Yeah.
Because we are recovering. Over the past week, we've gone from
we are.
13
I think until we really have either like more than 60% of people with antibodies or a cure, we should not really loosen it because it's too dangerous to get overrun.
Side note here: do we really want to have an in-depth corona analysis here?
Sure.
Do we? I was thinking the same thing. Do we not?
I'm inclined to say no, but
I mean,
I want to stress the fact that again, I have read this somewhere, but I don't know where anymore, so I can't check it again. Plus, I don't know if it was even a reliable source. So don't take me as a reliable source.
Yeah.
I'm a 19-year-old dimwit that loves to drink a lot, talk about alpacas, and game. So that's my qualification about talking about pandemics. So yeah.
Well, I mean that's kind of my point, right? Is like we're like not really qualified, and I don't think we have a lot of new things to say. Plus, I think people already hear way too much about Corona.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah,
That's just my
about
general
games.
input right now. Is that not
Let's
that
talk
it's
about
an irrelevant
games.
topic, but it's just I think people already get way too much of that, and like
Yep.
Just
All right, let's talk about games and economy.
I can
Because
just
the real life one is
interesting.
failing. So
I was
let's go.
I was gonna talk about I mean that's cool.
Wait, who has good topic ideas? Because I also have
Yeah,
one,
no,
but I can
I've-
save it for another
No,
one.
I
Okay,
played
you go first.
Grepolis.
What bar?
I've been playing Grepolis for a bit now.
Oh, Grepolis. Oh my god.
Yeah, which is like it's kind of Tribal Wars, but like better. Or well, I mean,
Yeah,
okay,
it's one of those
so
online games.
it's the Age of Mythology of Tribal Wars.
I really hate that sentence because I love Age of Mythology and I hate Grepolis.
Oh, okay. I love both, so there's that.
Okay. Now, my gripe with Grepolis is purely personal. It's just I couldn't get into it, but a very good friend of mine did, and all he did for a while was only talk about Grepolis, and I didn't like the game at all, and like we didn't do anything in breaks at school anymore. He was just sitting there playing Grepolis, and I was like,
Yeah,
"Game, you
that's
are
just
stealing
sad.
my friend." And since then, I have a burning hate for Grepolis. So
Okay. Well, I'm here to
Yeah.
tell you
yeah.
that it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty fun. So for anybody who doesn't know this, it's kind of like Tribal Wars, but for anybody who doesn't know that, you get a city with like mines and farms and like
Lumen frozen or
a
is
few,
he?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
It is
And a
sexy
few
photo.
and a few like ways to make an army and like a wall and stuff, and you can upgrade all those, and you get resources over time. Like it's sort of like a really slow RTS, where like it's like a real time strategy game, but you get like instead of getting your gold in like a minute, you get it in like a day, and then you're like, okay, now I have enough gold to make new people. Okay, great. And then you build out your city, and at some point your beginner player protection ends, and you just get overrun by people, and you start again. Okay, and this goes on for a few times until you figure out the game enough to actually have an army and like be somewhat set up by the time your new player protection ends. And the way it had gone for me is like I have a good friend as well who got really into the game, and who like knew quite a bit, so he gave me some tips, but he didn't constantly talk about it. But it's pretty cool. And the thing that amazed me so much today, I was literally, so what happens is you can get attacked and then your city can get taken over, right?
Yeah.
He's back.
He's back.
So your city
Wait.
can get taken over.
This
by-
time it's not me that froze.
Yeah.
My internet is holding up pretty well, I think.
It's
Right?
not just pretty
Yeah,
well. You're
doing
clear
you're
as
great.
hell.
You're like pretty high resolution. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's like,
I just reset the router. I am an IT
Nice.
guy. I know how to fix internet.
Have you tried turning it off
Sorry,
and on
continue.
again?
I did. I turned it off. Waited 10 seconds. Turn it off.
Nice.
You know what? The 10 second wait that's the trick.
That,
Not
that
9,
is the trick.
not 11.
Can't be
It has
9.
to be 10. Is it 10
You have to
exact
count in
seconds?
Missis-
No, but it has to be 10.
I
You have to count in
really
Mississippi's.
count
You
10
have to
seconds.
count
Yeah.
in Mississippi's.
Yeah,
One
Mississippi.
Mississippi, two
Or
Mississippi.
elephants.
Mississippi 3.
No, but it can be one Mississippi or it can be one Mississippi. Both of those, as long as you count to 10, it's fine. If you count to 9 or 11,
I do agree with you there, sir.
Insert holy hand grenade reference here.
You shall only
The
count to 9
number
to
you
get to
shall
10.
count.
So,
Right.
continue, dear
Yeah.
sir.
So in Grepolis you can like get attacked, and then they can station like army units and colonization ships in your city, which means you'll basically be unable to do anything for 10 hours, and then after 10 hours, if there's no who came to like free you and like drive everybody off, then your city gets taken over and you lose control of it. If, like me, you're a newer player and that's your only city, you basically get kicked out of the game and you can make a new city and start over again, right? So this morning I log on to Grepolis and I get that screen, which is like, okay, your city is being taken over. You have like 4 hours to get people to clear you. Okay, but there was a ton of people there, so that good friend of mine couldn't clear them. Okay, fair enough. I had basically accepted that I was going to lose that city. I'd more or less given up on the game, to be honest, because like this was the second time this had happened, and I was like, okay, I've had my fun with this game, but it's not for me. So I go on to my alliance, because you get into alliances, right, with people, and like you join a clan, and I get onto the clan, and you can like post the thing. There's like a link you can post, and everybody can see a live feed of all the units that are in your city and all that stuff. So I just posted there. I was like, hey, I'm being fucked. Please help, but it's probably not. Okay, that's fine. See you guys, rant. Within 2 minutes, there were 2 people I had never met, who had sent an attack to save my city. Not only that, I had only joined that alliance that morning, because I was in another alliance. That one got merged into the new alliance. So I got into that new alliance, which my old alliance merged into this morning. Then I asked for help. People who saw that I joined that alliance probably that morning, never knew me, sent ships to help my city so that I could keep playing the game. That is honestly probably the best online community of strangers that I've seen in like any game.
No, but I think
it was so heartwarming. I was just like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna keep playing this game. It's pretty fucking cool.
From a game design perspective, that's really interesting because I played Gameplays a long time ago, and as with all those other games where you build a city and you can have alliances and stuff, if you lose, you lose, you know, and then they either cripple your city a little bit or you lose the city. But this aspect of being able to your city gets attacked and then you can get defended, where an alliance becomes a positive thing instead of an attack dog that destroys your city if you destroy somebody else's city.
Exactly.
Like, it's not revenge, it's pure defense, you know?
Yeah.
And that they've added this option, really, it almost makes me want to go play the game.
Yeah. So the thing I thought very interesting about this was that I compared it to Anarchy Minecraft, which I've been watching a lot of videos about again. Yeah, I know. Because like literally, there's no systems in place to facilitate this, right? As in, like, you can attack your own clan members. You could like completely screw them over. You could take over the city that was being taken over because it's empty. You have all those options. But literally, just from a community of people that say, hey, we're in a clan together. There's a forum there. You post one link. People come to help you. They don't fuck you over. They help you get back on your feet. And I think that's really fucking awesome.
I think though,
we live in a society.
You said there's no underlying system that helps that, but I think that's not true, because you're in an alliance. As Lumen said, it's mainly defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. The alliance's purpose is mainly defense. So the
really,
more people there are in your alliance,
mm-hmm.
the more chance there is that if you're in need, someone will help.
Mm-hmm.
If you help someone, especially a player weaker than you, they will feel indebted or at least grateful.
Yeah, I felt very
grateful. Yeah. When you become a stronger player and they need help, you're probably going to help them. Thus, it's beneficial for them that if a weaker player gets overrun by someone, probably that person that overrun them, because they're a weaker player, is also relatively weak. Like, it's stronger than the player that got overrun, but still can be pretty weak. So it might not be that much of a resource loss or anything for the player helping you, but it's very beneficial to have some, like, the extra chance that you don't lose your city, because that can fuck you up.
But the thing, what I'm trying to say is, usually in those types of games, if you're in an alliance and I get attacked, then I don't get defended, I get avenged, you know?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And that's the thing that I feel like alliances are kind of useless, because if I get attacked and destroyed, I'm gonna stop playing the game anyway. I mean, the alliance can avenge me, the alliance cannot avenge me. I don't really care.
Yeah, you don't really care.
But the fact that there's this actual cry for help, like this actual, I need help right now, that's really amazing. Yeah,
it's really fun. Yeah, come play and join the alliance as well. It's gonna be.
I'm not gonna play.
I don't want to admit, but you make me want to try.
Yeah, you actually sold this game pretty well.
Let's make It's Okay to Cry alliance.
Well, yeah, but you know the thing is, your alliance stands and falls with its size, which is
Yeah.
what I talked about, right, with the merge and everything. Is the whole reason that happened is because really it's one giant alliance that just is represented by multiple in-game alliances because they have a player limit. But like all the leaders are friends, and so when there's somebody in need of help, they also can post that on the other forums, and like you know, it's like a ridiculously large group of players that are all ready to help each other, and that's what makes it really fucking strong.
It's interesting because if you compare this to like how it used to go way back, and with way back I mean like in the time of the Greeks and the Romans.
Right. Oh, right. Okay.
When you have city states.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, I remember it so fun.
Yeah, good old times. It might explain why people would help each other, because the exact reason why you help someone in Grapolis is the reason that someone would help another city-state in ancient Greece. It's for diplomacy connections and for them to help you when you need help.
Like,
Yeah,
I
to
get
allow-
that argument, but I'm really not sure if that's the case here.
I think
It
it's
might be a bit, but I not as much as in the actual ancient Greece. It's
Yeah.
more like because it's a game.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't actually cost you anything.
the thing is you can't properly get those dynamics in a game easily and as accessible for everybody.
You mean politics?
That's what?
Well, what dynamic?
Like the politics, the actual aspect, the actual indebtedness, because all that depends on a player.
Yeah.
All that depends on how active a player is,
Mm-hmm.
and well, the usefulness depends on how active a player is. Because if you were to save me, I probably will stop playing the game within a month. And I mean, thanks for helping me, bro, but that's it's not gonna do much. Which is compared to with ancient Greece, you could, or well, with actual politics, you know, you
Mhm.
could have a weak city-state. They need help, and then you can help develop them, and well, not make them your bitch, but get an
Make
alliance.
them,
In a way, in a
make
way.
them your bitch.
Yeah, just get an alliance where you're in control and make them your bitch. Which is, yeah, which is exactly what Spain and Italy don't want.
No,
To
but
be fair,
Motherfuckers.
I think this is something that kind of happens in Tripolis. But
Yeah,
I
it's
think
something that
the
kind of
reason that
happens,
this
but
works so well is that it's like this mobile game. It's not actually a mobile game, but it's like this kind of game that requires you to log on very briefly, but on a lot of moments, which means you're constantly committed, and it makes you kind of part of that world, which I think makes you
Yeah.
more inclined to play that kind of political game.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm trying to say. You're part of that world, but you're not as permanent as
an actual city state.
Yeah,
like
that's
the
fair enough.
permanence.
But I do
doesn't
believe that
depend on.
There,
Yeah, you
it does play a role in people helping you, though.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe.
Even if it's just not the main focus, even if it's just a guy that generally is trying to be kind, there is an underlying benefit to helping people. Because let's just say there are 10 cries for help in a month, and you can help them all, and like 4 of them leave the game anyway. 2 of them are just shitty players. Well, the other 4 might grow to be very big and good players, and now you have strong friends to help you when you need help. While all you did was help 10 like shitty players that was like maybe 5% of your resources, you could do it with your eyes closed kind of stuff. But now you got 4 very strong friends.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Yeah. But
It is
anyway,
really interesting.
economics.
Right. By the way, we've been going at it for like an hour and 9 minutes now.
Yeah.
Well,
Damn.
all right.
So
might
we
be
might
time
wanna
Thank you
keep
for
that
liking,
for
commenting, and
next time.
subscribing. But
I think it's
No,
time for hypotheticals then.
Which, and also, I think it's a good thing to constantly have more topics for next time than less topics for next time.
Yeah,
Can I-
so we
I'm-
already. Cool.
I'm gonna forget this topic, so can we just discuss this topic?
Oh yeah, I
Down,
mean,
write
sure.
it down. Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Which one is
Like
it?
in Mountain Blade Bannerlord, you can trade, and it was a thing in Mountain Blade Warband, but they've really made it so in depth, where I've started this playthrough where I basically am a caravan. Like usually you hire troops, train your troops, join a kingdom, get castles, and go and do that.
Mhm.
But now I've watched this video, and you've got the ability to trade, and you've got systems that make trade easier the better you get at it. Where it's so satisfying to buy cheap stuff, sell it for profit, that I've spent like 5 to 10 hours. No, probably 15 hours. Just going to a town, buying stuff, selling it someplace else, and like the economy is so well worked out that it balances out in the end, which is really great.
Right. This was
I
bizarre.
really enjoy that.
You talked to me about this. Is where there was a siege going on in a city.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that actually caused the price of food to skyrocket. So you just chilled outside, not caring who would win, which you would normally if you played the complete other route, and just ready for the price to drop so you could go into the city and sell your food. I find that to be so awesome that they have that.
Yeah, exactly.
That
It's
is-
all that stuff where it's so well thought out. You've got cities have villages that produce stuff, and you can look at what they produce. And for example, there's a city where literally all the villages produce clay. So clay is dirt, literally dirt, cheap there. Um, and all that stuff. So you can just look at the map, see what the villages produce, and the price is lower there. And if you see a village that doesn't produce any food, there's a good chance food is going to be expensive in that town.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. That yeah, I love that. So
Yeah,
anyway, that was what I wanted to say about economy in games.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because it's the problem with game economy, especially player-driven economy, but game economy in general, is that it's very hard to emulate real economy because it's not a closed loop. Like
Mhm.
a government can't just print. Well, they can, but it's fucky wucky if they do that. They can't just print more money because then the whole thing kind of breaks
Yeah.
down.
Well, if they
Can't
keep,
you-
spawning gold making goblins every few seconds, then yeah, shit.
Yeah,
Gets
exactly.
fucking
So if you like, I don't know how Bannerlord works, but if there are an indefinite amount of like bandits you can fight, and you can always loot their equipment and sell it, then it's very hard to keep a closed economy loop. So it's pretty cool that they did it so effectively then.
Yeah,
Because-
the thing is they've got basically two economy loops.
Mhm.
They've got a weapons economy loop, which is not as in depth because it doesn't matter. Weapons are weapons,
Mhm.
armor's armor. All that stuff is looped there. And you've got a goods loop, which is there's a set amount of production. And there's a set amount of production. There's production which can vary.
Mhm.
You can kill villagers that are delivering goods to a town, and then there's a shortage in that town. You can buy all the goods in a town, and then there's in a village, and then there's a shortage in the town. You won't make any profit off of that, but you get the idea. So they've got this closed loop for the goods that are produced, where there's a constant, which is the production. Well, a cap on the production, basically. Compared to indeed the infinite bandits you can fight, where the price of the armor doesn't really vary because, there's no point in making an economy around armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the biggest weak point of MMOs is that they have player-driven economy, but someone can just literally farm for 5 days straight in a plains, just killing goblins, and boom, he has a fuck ton of money, and now he can buy most of the loot, and that's why most games of that kind have like a secondary money that you buy with actual money, that is used for like an actual currency instead of the in-game currency.
But that's a thing about single player economies and multiplayer economies and exploits in them. Because if I want to make a fuck ton of money in a single player game, I make a fuck ton of money, I win the game, GG.
Yeah.
If I want to make a fuck ton of money in a multiplayer game, and there's an economy that we're all inside of, all a part of,
Mm-hmm.
then other players suffer because of my success.
Right.
And
Either
that's a
directly
thing
because
that
you
you
make
really have
money
to
off
watch
of
out.
them, or indirectly
Well-
because their money becomes less valuable because you
Yeah,
introduce new
that-
money in
yeah.
the system.
Yeah, it's I don't remember what game, but it's a classic example of economies in games, where it was one of the first MMOs, and they
It's
had
like
this
EverQuest.
very well might be, but I'm not sure. And they've got they had set up this really interesting cycle of life.
Oh, with the
where-
wolves and the rabbits or something, right?
Yeah, with the
I-
wolf
yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
deer and the
I
trees or
think
something.
I saw this. Yeah.
And they set up this really balanced resource generation, and players logged onto the server and they just destroyed the economy. Like they just looted the world. Which is, I think that's really interesting how you balance single player economies versus multiplayer economies, because
Yeah.
in multiplayer economies you can go for the value, for the inflation route, or you can do what GTA 5 does for the multiplayer, where the economies are not tied to each other.
Yeah.
There's some interaction between players, but generally you're looking for peaceful lobbies where you can just do your businesses and make money.
Right. Or
And
you're
yours-
looking for the ones where you can fuck around with the toys you bought with all your money. But
Yeah.
you know, yeah, I get what you're saying. Is that it's like
Yeah, so
because
that's
there's also
really
no way to directly exchange goods in that game.
Right.
So we're gonna
Oh,
cut
it's-
all of that and say what an interesting idea. Yeah, I think that could be really cool. And I think unintentionally there's already games that do this.
Yeah.
And I know I keep coming back to this and it's painful, but Anarchy
2B2T,
Minecraft is a
yeah.
typical example of this. I think it's basically a completely player-driven trade economy, but that is completely overinflated because of all the duplicating glitches and
Yeah, there's like 2B2T has like 20,000 Dragon Eggs, well, there's supposed to be one.
something like that. Yeah.
I think it's
Pretty
interesting
hilarious.
that Anarchy servers, like Anarchy doesn't work in the sense that you can't have complete anarchy because it just creates a power vacuum.
Yeah.
Like Anarchy always creates a power vacuum. Thus,
Mhm.
even in an Anarchy server, there is an overarching power that can be just like the strongest faction in the server that
Yeah.
fuck everyone up. That kind of, you can do what you want, but don't really mess with that clan because you get fucked, kind of thing.
Sure.
Unless you're powerful enough to fuck with them.
But
But,
I
then
think-
you're the powerful one. So there's
Yeah.
always an overarching entity that has the
I think there's a
rule.
power struggle there somewhere. Yeah, but I think, for example, 2B22, which again I haven't played, but from everything I have read and seen about it, which is quite a lot, is that isn't really a thing. Because the map is just too vast, the amount of players too large, and it takes too much time to properly govern that you just cannot be
But then
or create.
you
like,
don't
such
have you don't have it in like over the whole server, but then you have it in pocket locations.
Sure.
Like
yeah.
if you have 4 factions in one location, there's one going to be the boss, and you better keep him on your good side or you're fucked.
Yeah, or you just
which
move
is-
to a different area.
Yeah, but then either you're alone or you are in an area of another faction, and then you have the same situation. You have another power struggle between them.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that even if you create a setting for the perfect anarchy, there will always be in an area a boss, someone that is the higher being, because anarchy just creates a power vacuum. Because if everything is anarchy, that means that everyone can be the powerful one.
Mm-hmm.
That means that anyone can be the boss because everyone is the boss of their own thing and nobody is the boss. Which means that if nobody is the ruler, but everyone is their own ruler, then you can find a way to become very powerful, and now you are a ruler because you're more powerful, and if they don't listen to what you say, you're gonna fuck them up. Because it's anarchy, so you can fuck them up. Nobody's
Sure.
gonna say you
Sure.
can't fuck them up.
But I think
Yeah.
it's especially in 2B2T, I think it's very easy to either hide away safely enough that you cannot get fucked over by stronger people, or that it's fairly easy to gear yourself up to the level where you can fuck with the highest people.
Yeah. But then
which kind of balance out everything.
I have an interesting question for you. By hiding away and being alone,
Mhm.
are you in anarchy? Can anarchy
enough.
exist with a single person? Or is that just the single person being the boss, thus not anarchy, but because he's the only person there, it's his rules?
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. I think there's a scale, right? As with everything, it's a gradient
Yeah.
in the end.
It's a gray
Just
space.
like my sexuality, it's like it's on a scale somewhere. Like my spectrum, you know.
Hey.
No, so I think
I
this
think
about
we are
wraps
ready
it up.
for a roundup top 3.
Ooh, a round of
Ooh,
top
yes,
3. I am
round of top
excited.
three.
But I also
excited.
think that Dan is playing tech
Muted.
support
Oh,
for someone.
Yeah,
Oh,
I danced
Ah.
that.
oh,
One arm.
one
Oh.
arm. A single arm.
we want to see more of
He
those
can still
single
hear
arms.
us. You can see in his face.
All right, so let's
Let's think
throw a top
of...
3, and then Dan's gonna come out of nowhere and respond to our top 3, and that's gonna be hilarious with his dad in the room.
Yeah.
With his sexually armed dad in the room.
So I've done top 3. Misha's done the top 3.
Yeah.
So
So
either
hit us
Lumen or
with it.
Dan, or maybe Misha if he has another good idea. Because I don't have any ideas for top 3s.
All right. All right. Lamp,
Lamp.
curtain, beam.
Beam? Like
BEAM. Beam.
beam.
Like wooden beam.
Like
Beam.
beam. Okay. Lamp, curtain, beam.
Okay. I'm gonna go with screen, curtain, window.
I'm gonna go with flashlight, lighter, lumen.
All right. I think we're not gonna get Dan's response, are we? Dan, shake your head if we're not gonna get a response. We're not gonna get a response. All right, blink twice if you're in danger.
Blink 3 times if you're not in danger but are hungry.
So anyway, those 3 things were the points closest to the ceiling in the room that you're currently in.
Oh.
Which means that your flashlight and your lighter are like.
Oh shit! No!
We're up there.
What?
Can't reach him. Can't reach him.
No, as in lights, not.
Oh, he's gone.
Oh no, everything's fucked now.
No! The
No!
template! Fuck you, Dan!
Alright, everybody.
Note.
We've
Thank
been
you
the
for
It's Okay to Cry
commenting and
Entertainment
subscribing.
team. Thank you for watching.
You.
You.